Hey, it's me again. Um, I fixed my hair. I didn't cut it. I just mashed it over. This is the way we used to wear it back in the 70s. Right down the middle. Waved down. I put some goop on it. It's stiff. But yeah, I didn't cut it or anything, but I did push it back. I didn't comb it now. I just moved the back of my hand, but I got it spread out like that. I'm going to tell a few stories here, some maybe one or two about EB and a couple about our family, some hilarious things that happened. Somebody actually, I'm sorry I'm wiping my nose so much. I got a runny nose. That's gross. My June, my ex-sister-in-law, I still consider her a sister. She told me one time, she goes, "You're like the brother I never had." And that made me feel good. And she was an only child. So anyway, she wanted to hear the story of the fireplace. Now, my dad, Jack White, he wasn't one to... You couldn't just tell him that something wouldn't work or he couldn't do something. That's kind of how I am. You couldn't just tell him something wouldn't work. He had to, decide on his own if it would work or not. And I think that's how most people really should be. I mean, to not try something just because somebody told you you can't do it, that's kind of silly. Okay, I won't try. So yeah, you got to try. And so anyway, this is one of his tries. So it was Christmas, and we'd finished up Christmas, and my dad says, well, we got to get rid of this Christmas tree. It was a big spruce thing or something. And, the kind that have really flammable branches and the little spines on them, they have a lot of something in them that makes them burn. Somebody out there probably knows, but they're very flammable. So Dad decides he's going to stick it in the fireplace. We had an older home built in the 20s and had a big fireplace. And Dad says, well, I'm just going to shove this in the fireplace. And we're all, we're in the living room. The front room of that house was the main part of the house there. And my dad's, he's got to hold the end of this, the butt end of this Christmas tree. And man, now the fireplace is lit now. I mean, big lit. He starts to jam this thing in that hole. And the tree started catching fire faster than he could push it in. And he's shoving this thing in the fireplace, and the flames are coming out of the fireplace, up the outside of the fireplace to the mantle. And he's ramming that sucker in there. I'll never forget the sight from across that front room, watching that Christmas tree explode in the fireplace. I mean, flames. It was not good. And he just rams it up the fireplace flue. Just flames everywhere. He staggers back. I mean, the whole inside of the fireplace was lit up like the sun. I mean, it was lit up. Now, I wasn't outside to see this, but I am absolutely certain that there was probably a flame, like a blowtorch, blasting out the top of our chimney on top of our house. I mean, that thing exploded. So a cautionary tale there is don't put your fireplace in the Christmas tree. Or don't put your fireplace in the Christmas tree. That would be weird. Don't put your Christmas tree in the fireplace. If you're gonna put it in little bits at a time. I've done that before. But man, oh man, oh man. He did it, and that was quite a sight. I'll never forget that. It was very, very, very interesting, very learning experience. And boy, the look on my dad's face when he turned around, no eyebrows, arm hair singed. It was interesting because seeing him in that condition was not something you normally saw. He was always like stalwart and solid, See him turn around, that look on his face, his eyebrows burned off. Well, it was kind of pleasant, actually. So anyway, that's one. So there's another one. My dad had put a wood-burning fireplace in the back of in the den part of our home, in the very back of our house. Had an addition put on, I don't know, in the 30s or something, onto the end of the older home that was there. And Dad put a wood-burning fireplace in the corner. And there was another fireplace in the rear of the house, or a chimney in the rear of the house. I think what it had been used for was, I think that back part was a kitchen way back. And I think that they had a stove there and it had a flue pipe going up and then out that chimney, like inside and out the top. And that way they could, they had a wood-burning stove that they cooked with. And that chimney, would let it vent. And so Dad decided he wanted to put a wood-burning fireplace in there. And we were all for that. That sounded cool. So he put some tile on the floor there, as a wood floor. He put some ceramic heat tile on the floor and some kind of on the back of it. And he runs the pipe out up the top of the wood-burning fireplace, turned it, went into that hole that was already in the side of it that they probably used, like I said, with their stove way back in the day. And he plumbs it up to that, and he lights up this wood-burning stove in the back. And in the winter, it's going to work, So the first winter comes by, and Dad had realized that the chimney wasn't sticking up high enough to be able to draft properly. They have to be like a foot below any point within 10 feet of the chimney in order for them to be able to draft and pull the smoke out. Otherwise, the wind will come across the roof of the house, dive down onto the top of the chimney, and not allow it to vent properly. So Dad took a flue pipe, a metal flue pipe, and he stuck it in the top of the fireplace. He would rig things up. Well, I do that too, but he stuck this. It was about 4 feet tall, so he stuck it in the top of the fireplace, and it stuck up about 4 feet above the top of the concrete or the brick fireplace chimney outside. Fired up the wood-burning stove. Worked fine. It was drafting well, and the thing heated up. Dad boiled water on it. He just thought that, this is the greatest thing. It's going to work great. So in the middle of a snowstorm, he's got that sucker chalked up. He's got a bunch of wood in it. And it is rocking and rolling, and this thing's like glowing red. Not quite, but it was pretty hot. And all of a sudden, the wind's blowing, it's snowing hard. All of a sudden, we hear this bang, clang, boom noise. And then the den starts to fill with smoke. This fireplace, it's lost all of its ability to draft. And there's just smoke. It's coming out every seam and cracking this thing. And the house is quickly filling up with smoke. And Dad's like, get out there. Whoa, dang it. So, I was 14 or 15. I think Rocky had moved away. He was working somewhere, I think in Chicago or something. So I was the next best thing, So we go out we had a deck out there, beside the house. And it was about 10 foot up to the roof line there, just on the edge of the roof line, like where the gutter was. And Dad slams the ladder up there, and he gives me this flue pipe. And this thing is hot. And it's still smoking. And it's laying down in the yard in the snow. It cools off a little bit. He hands that to me. He says, get up there and stick that in the fireplace. Hurry up. And the roof is covered in snow. It's a steep roof line. This is old home. They had real steep roof lines because they wanted the snow to fall off of them and not sit. I get up on the ladder, and Dad comes up the ladder behind me. He says, get up on the roof. And I'm like, holy crap, this is like it's like a ski slope. I'd get up on that ladder, and I'm at the very top of the ladder. Now, he's on the ladder, too, and he's got that flue pipe. He's kind of laid it across the ladder there, and he's kind of stabilizing it. And I have to actually jump. I lunge forward, and I'm able to get my hand around the back side of the chimney, the brick part. And this thing is snow and ice, and the wind's blowing like you wouldn't believe. And I've got a hold of the back of that. I reach down, and Dad hands me that soot-covered, smoking hot flue pipe. And I got it in one hand, and I got this, and Dad's on the ladder. He goes, if you slide down there, I'll catch you. I'm like, yeah, who's going to catch you? We're going to both fall off the deck 15 feet down on the yard. It's not going to be good. But anyway, I'm up there on the roof, and it's incredible. And I got a hold of that chimney, and I actually pulled myself up. Luckily, this roof being slick actually allowed me to slide better. I got up and got my arm around. I'm tearing the skin off my arm. I got myself in behind the chimney, still holding on to this smoking hot, soot-covered flue pipe. I mean, I'm all black with soot because I got my hand inside of it. I get that thing up there, and I jammed it in the hole. Dad goes, get it in there, good. And I'm smashing it down in there. And I got it down in there as best I could. Now I got to get down. And Dad's on the ladder. And I have probably 6 feet from where the chimney was to the edge of the roof line where he was on the ladder. And man, I laid down, I slid down until I was holding on the end of the chimney and just let myself slide. And blam, I crash into the ladder, and he stops me. We both come down the ladder. I go into the house. I'm covered in soot. I'm half burnt up. I'm frozen. My dad just threw the ladder. I think he just threw the ladder off the deck. He comes in. He's pretty cold too. And the house is still full of smoke. We had to open the windows. It took forever to get that smoke out. But I'll never forget that. That was an amazing thing. Those are the kind of things you did back in the day. I'll tell one more EB story here before I close on this one. People are talking about Keith Irwin, who he was a line manager that was there before Jerry became line manager. And this is for Brandy. Your dad, Larry, was there. And Keith got in a fight with one of the line guys right out in front of the line office. I mean, they're duking it out. They're rolling around the ground. They're fighting. They're rolling around. They're punching each other. And your brother Larry, or your dad Larry, Brandy, he goes up there and he sees this fight going on. He says, get Keith, somebody get Keith. And somebody else points and goes, well, that is Keith. That's the line manager right there. I mean, they were duking it out. I don't know that he fired the guy either. I think they just settled it somehow. If anybody has any more information on that, I don't know if he got fired, and I'm not exactly sure who it was he was fighting. But yeah, those are the kind of things that happen at the airport. Those and a whole lot more. You guys have a good day. I hope you're all being safe. I hope these stories help to kind of break some of the tension. Have a good day now. Bye-bye.